Hello, everybody. This is the Fiery Joker, and we all just saw Spider-Man: Homecoming, and this entire situation looks really familiar. It's like we did it for a very similar Marvel movie.
2 years ago, Ant-Man.
Yep.
But I gotta say, I had a lot more fun watching Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
But I'm having flashbacks. Anthony.
Of course.
Yeah, but still, it's just I'm actually surprised that they released this that allowed us to watch this like a day early.
They do that a lot. It's always Thursday that I expect to see brand new films at the theater, not Friday anymore.
And soon it'll be Wednesday, and then Tuesday, and then nuts, we'll just go straight to Blu-ray release.
Either that or Netflix.
Yeah, but yes.
Oh, wait, no. Spaceballs. Instant movies. They're on video before they're in the theater. When will now be then? Soon.
No. But anyways, Spider-Man: Homecoming. I was a little concerned for this movie because it's a new Spider-Man so soon after Amazing Spider-Man, which was so soon after the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. And it's amazing. Oh my gosh. It is so funny, so great. Like, I can count everything I had a problem with this movie on one hand.
You should have seen his facial expressions throughout the movie. Every time a joke came up, I'd start laughing, and then I realized, oh, I gotta look, oh my goodness, he's got this on his face the whole time, and he's trying to hold himself back the whole time.
Because you know, there were people around us, you know, trying to be polite, but yeah, it's just, I get really animated with movies, and especially ones I see in the theater. But yeah, I was laughing hard. It's this guy. I was actually laughing really hard. I was like trying to hold my laughter. It's like, wait a minute, is that DRWolf laughing?
And then
he loves movies too, and he laughs a lot. But this is the most I've heard him laugh.
That's the most I've heard him laugh in a movie theater too.
Meanwhile, I look over to my left at certain points, and everyone's going, ah, and you know, in a good way. It's like, you're meant to go, ah.
For a lot of these things.
There are plenty of awkward moments, but they are entertainingly awkward moments, not the why did the movie do this awkward moments.
Yeah, but still, like, okay, so we should start. This is going to be a spoilery review. We're not going to do another take. We're not going to do two takes of this. But, okay. This Tom Holland as Spider-Man. How is he?
He feels like an actual kid.
Thank you.
More than any other Spider-Man I've seen, not just in the films, but also the animated series that I watched as a kid. This feels like an actual teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I've ever seen that before. And it's refreshing that they're taking that approach.
He looks like an actual teenager.
Yeah.
And he does come with his own theme song. Spider fail, fails however a spider does. And again, in a good way. This is the first time where an amateur superhero movie really, you say, yeah, that is probably how they all start. Awkward, clumsy, trying to be the grand hero but not really understanding what that means. And he is very much the immature hero, but he's constantly comparing himself against these experienced warriors like Captain America and Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I must give a salute to Captain America, the ultimate troll.
After all the credits, we waited in the theater for 5 minutes just talking about how great this movie was, and Captain America comes on screen, and Josh is just thrilled to see one more scene with Captain America. Please watch that one scene.
Watch that one scene.
Oh my goodness.
But I made a prediction of the credits. It's like, you know, we're so pre-programmed by Marvel movies to just stay through the credits. What if they're just going to mess with us?
Yeah. I very much enjoyed how they handled Captain America in this, because the first scene you see him, it's like, okay, he's teaching gym class, and then the gym teacher says, you know, I'm not sure I should be showing you guys this because he's now technically a war criminal.
Yeah. Spider-Man goes to the worst, most advanced school I've ever seen. These are high schoolers, and they're teaching super advanced science.
Oh yeah.
That is like AP Chem.
But this is a world where you've got a guy in armor flying around. Aliens have invaded.
Standards of raised.
Standards have raised. The criminals in this are actually are engineering geniuses, but they look, act, and interact like street thugs.
So yes, this is a much more technologically advanced the humanity. So yeah, the standards are raising because you got people like Tony Stark, you got people like Bruce Banner, you got all of these geniuses out there. It's like other people got to keep up. The next generation has to keep up, and that was just something that, but yeah, people had complaints about that, but you know, it's just made more clear in this movie that that's what's happened. But
in fact, when I think about it, this movie more than any other drives home the impact heroes have had on daily life, both economic, personality. There's one scene where several girls in Peter's class are talking about their crushes on the superhero spectrum. You know, who they'd marry, who they'd date, who they'd kill.
Yeah, but still, that's what we do. That's what fans do.
I like that the very opening scene of this movie is something that takes place like right after the original Avengers came to an end. That the city has had great destruction, and you've got these construction crews going through and trying to pull everything back together and feeling like we actually matter as part of something, only to have that taken away lickety-split.
In fact, the Vulture in this is...
Oh, great antagonist.
He has probably the shortest origin story of all the villains, and yet he's something every person who's worked a thankless job will identify with. And anyone who's felt a little powerless before economic or political giants, they'll understand why he's so angry.
He's probably among the most compelling of all the villains I've seen in the Marvel films, simply because he is relatable. And the way they introduce him, the way they flesh him out, in very subtle ways, because there's one scene towards the end of this film that caught all of us off guard, and they're like, oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, this is where everyone was going,
oh, that's brilliant.
And yeah, well, it's a spoiler-free review. It's a spoilery review.
It is a spoilery review, but...
Okay.
I'll just say, it's the moment you say, yes, Peter, life hates you.
Yeah.
Just, oh my gosh, it's just, everything was just thrown out of whack, and we were all Peter in that scene. We're like, oh no, no.
Actually, my first thought was, oh no, the villain has found out his identity, has kidnapped these people, and oh, wait, he what? Oh.
And it only takes about 3 minutes after that point where you start to realize he's figured out who Peter is.
Because loose lips sink ships. Speaking of loose lips, Peter's friend. Guy
Before
in a chair.
Before we get to that, I want to say that those moments when the Vulture figures out who Peter is, it's some of the most tense moments I've seen in a Marvel film in the past decade. Everybody was on the edge of their seats, even for just those couple of minutes. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah, the Vulture was just so great. I mean, like, a lot of the imagery, just like him, like, perched on that little place, just, and him having that silhouette against the moon, because that was just a total Batman movie.
Yeah.
You know they did that on purpose.
I appreciate that they did that on purpose, but now Silver wanted to talk about Peter's friend, and yeah, he's definitely worth mentioning.
Well, one last thought on the villain, at least for me. There are scenes where you see his mask view. So it's, his face is lit green. You're very tight focused on his face, and there's a breathing mask, kind of like a jet fighter pilot. And it's like he resents Tony Stark, who has this sleek blue heads-up display, and here's this much more gritty fighter pilot. The Vulture really is the guy who views himself as in the trenches with the working man, while Iron Man is this sterile, distant, digital hero. And so that was a great visual contrast. Even though we don't get that view, we see that in the Iron Man movies, but we don't see that from Tony Stark in this movie. We see some other things to Tony. Like, he's the worst mentor ever.
Yeah.
But Peter's friend, there were times where I felt like the high school setting was getting in the way. I was like, get back to the Spider-Man parts. I already did high school. It wasn't this interesting. Didn't have this many attractive people in it. Sorry, folks. To all my classmates, we were pretty average-looking folks. But the friend, gosh, I can't quite remember his name in all this. I know him as Chair Guy, because he wants to be the chair guy.
That's how memorable they make what he wants to be.
Yeah.
But he is, the minute he finds out, in the most comedic way, he's just trying to force Peter's life into the limelight, and they'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But then there's the scene after Peter's hit rock bottom, and all they're doing is building a Lego Death Star. And suddenly, you see Peter coming out of his funk, getting his life back together.
It really humanizes both of their characters. And it's only on screen for about 10 seconds, but you really feel for both of them in that scene. And that's so much more effective than so many other movies who try to spend 20 minutes on that exact same subject.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and going back to what made Tom Holland so great as Spider-Man and how he was actually like a kid, that scene where he was pinned. He was crying.
Yeah.
He was crying. It's like he was acting like a scared child during that scene, and my heart broke a little bit.
Well, I don't think there's a person in the theater who would say, oh, that wouldn't be me. We all have our power fantasies, but when we're confronted with the reality of how frightening this is, you say, yeah, that would be me. I'd be just as terrified. I'd be screaming, help me. But then you cheer when he, I will say, okay, the narration flashback.
They may not have needed that.
They may not have.
I understand why they put it in there, and it is somewhat effective, but maybe they could have used just him looking at himself in the water with the mask half covering his face.
Yeah,
that image alone may have been enough.
Yeah, but it's not that it was bad, but
It was a little heavy-handed.
Yeah.
I think the scene would have thrived even without it.
yeah, but still, that was a powerful moment. It's just great job, Tom. Oh my gosh, stellar acting. He should go into voice acting because that one.
Although he can't quite do the Batfleck voice distortion.
Oh, wow.
Enhanced interrogation.
I forgot that scene.
Okay, that was my first attempts at vocal correction.
Oh my gosh.
Even the criminal, who I like that they humanize a lot of the criminals. Even a guy who's just buying weapons, he's like, you really got to work on this, man. You really got to work on this part. Well,
Yeah.
I'm intimidating.
Yeah, and that's the thing about one thing that I noticed throughout this movie, that a lot of people just look at all these superhero movies and like, oh, that it just looks so easy. It's like I could do that if I had those powers. I could do that, but we got this kid who's trying to do all of these things, and he keeps messing up. He keeps not realizing things. He keeps not noticing things, and that always puts more people in danger. And he just keeps doing it, and he just doesn't know. He's not experienced, and it's so easy to judge.
To be fair, part of the film focuses on his inexperience simply because his suit fully awakens and suddenly his web shooters are doing things that he completely misunderstands what they can possibly do.
Yeah, Tony Stark really overthought the options.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was a great way to make Spider-Man less effective in an effective way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just give him too much to be able to do,
Mhm.
and not know how to use it. And that's one thing that I really, really liked about this movie. It was so much about great power comes great responsibility without ever saying it.
Yeah, love the Tobey Maguire movies, but Wow, they hammered that home.
It was early
I've still-
attempts at comic book movies, in my opinion.
I've still got a dent up here from when they hammered it in.
Oh no, I think that was just me and all your puns.
Yes, I've made 5 on the trip home.
Still, I enjoyed seeing his expressions throughout watching this film.
Especially after the end credits.
It's just so much fun. The witty, clever writing of all these different characters interacting.
And it is like Guardians of the Galaxy level humor.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I have difficulty remembering whether I had more fun with Guardians of the Galaxy versus Spider-Man Homecoming. It's that good.
But in terms of empathizing, I remember Doctor Strange made a very strong impression on you.
Doctor Strange is still my personal favorite Marvel superhero character.
Ooh.
Of all the movies I've seen, Doctor Strange is still number 1.
Mm.
But I definitely had more fun watching Spider-Man Homecoming.
Mm.
I may not have been hit as hard as Doctor Strange, but it still got some emotional moments. It still makes you feel for the characters, and it still makes you cheer for the characters, and I love that.
Not hit as hard as Doctor Strange, but he had a car wreck, and Spider-Man had the cement falling on him. And then Thor got punched by the Hulk, so we're talking about hard hits.
I'm sorry. When I see Doctor Strange struggling throughout the entire movie to use his hands, that still hits me harder than Spider-Man trying to lift half of a building off of it.
Not to diminish that, because
It's not to diminish that, but Doctor Strange, personally, for me, still leaves that much more of an effect.
Yeah. And let's talk about Tony Stark's role in this.
Like I say, not a great mentor. His heart's in the right place, but
he knows he's not great.
yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why he's just trying so hard to push Spider-Man away, because he's like, look, I can't do this for you. It's like I'm not a good mentor. It's just you need to keep on the down low. You need to keep things small because we're kind of out of good mentors.
I think the line was, Spider-Man says, "I'm trying to be like you," and Tony says, "Well, I want you to be better than that."
And then he says, "Oh,
That's the way he put it.
I sound like my father." And he actually says, I never had a great father. I'm trying to be that. But here's the thing: he's always doing it. Kind of going back to the contrast of the Vulture face cam versus Stark face cam. Stark's all digital. It's all clean and distant. So he sends an empty suit to assist Spider-Man at one point. He's always calling digitally. And so even when later on Iron Man is there in the flesh, Peter doesn't believe he's really there until the suit comes off. Stark wants to be just distant enough that he has control of the situation, even when he knows he has to get closer.
Mm-hmm.
So, and though it was nice, Captain America: Civil War, I understood why Tony was doing what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I felt for him, but I was tired of seeing him being the guy who makes the situation worse. This is him. He's not helping. Well, he's not resolving the situation, but he is preventing greater calamity.
Yeah.
Yes, and he is a lot more responsible, I feel, in this movie because he knows how much he constantly messes up, and he knows to not. And that's the thing. When he knew during that whole boat scene that the Vulture was there, but he didn't do it himself.
Yeah.
He delegated it to people that he thought he could trust.
Right. I should also mention that a lot of the advertising surrounding this movie puts a lot of focus on Tony Stark and Iron Man. He's not in the movie as much as you might think he is. It's only about 15 minutes in all for the entire film, I think.
I should also add that having seen trailers for that, I thought, you just summarized the entire movie. They covered a lot of the highlights, but it's not the whole movie. And so there were things that weren't spoilers, like, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I've seen trailers that really did give away the entire movie, and I was glad Spider-Man was not a victim of something.
And I was also, with the advertising, I was a little concerned that they were going to go a little too far with the whole high school drama.
Mm. And it is there in pieces. But the main focus is still on Spider-Man. And despite all the trailers and what they gave away, there are still moments that legitimately surprised us, especially with the Vulture opening the door and say, "Hi, Peter." Just that really blew me away. But there are even very subtle hints in earlier parts of the movie that lead up to this, that it doesn't just come out of nowhere. But you don't think about the fact that they're focusing on him talking about his daughter or his family. You don't make that connection until it actually happens.
Yeah, we just thought like that was supposed to make him a little more human, a little more related. It's like, hey, your wife's on the phone. It's like, dude, I'm trying to build a doomsday device. Oh my gosh,
this thing could explode.
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't talked about the sub villain of Shocker.
He's very minor character, in that the first guy who comes along and calls himself Shocker
gets axed
in a
brutal,
very nonchalant way,
but still brutal.
Yeah, because when we were talking about the Vulture in the car on the way home, Josh first thought that he would be more true neutral, and then I thought the way that he uses that gun and then just says, "I thought that was the gravity gun," and then just kind of nonchalantly picks up the piece of equipment and then blows all the dust off of it. You're the new Shocker now. I'm sorry, that speaks to me neutral evil, really does.
And yet at the same time, Shocker forced the situation, because he was just going to say, "You're out of the game."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, but I know everything. I got you. I got you. You can't do nothing. Hey, what are you picking up?"
Yeah, and the thing about neutral characters is that they're ambivalent towards the ideas of good and evil, so they could very well do both, just as a neutral good character would utilize law or chaos when it's convenient for them. So that's why I argue he's more of a true neutral villain.
Yeah.
Because he's not going so far out of his way to be an evil guy. He's just doing it because, he's got a family, and even at the end of the movie, towards the end, he didn't want to rat out Peter.
Yes. He could have been more evil by ratting out Peter at the end. I'll give you that.
Yes.
At the same time, he's talking about supporting his family.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about giving them everything and anything they could possibly want rather than what they need.
Yeah.
He goes way beyond just providing for them.
Which again might be driven by the very first scene in the movie. He is being, how do I want to, crushed beneath sort of a fate, even though there are people in front of him, it's mostly a faceless organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, except that it's run by Tony Stark, and then that resentment goes towards, Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to have as good a life as Tony Stark, even though he justifies it with his family. And I guess Happy is not a key player, but he's the bridge between Peter and Tony.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of funny moments.
Funny moments, but you kind of roll your eyes at him sometimes, like, dude, you're doing all the classic tropes. Not believing the kid, just having a little patience. But you're still a likable guy at the end of the day.
I am glad that every character in this movie makes you laugh.
There's only one guy who you enjoy seeing brought low, and that is, of course, Flash. What is it with us and cheering for the downfall of fictional characters named Flash? Except for DC. Barry, we're like these.
Right.
Yeah, but yes, Flash is my second favorite superhero. Watch it.
Yeah. And your first favorite superhero ends the movie
by trolling me.
Talking about patience. I was laughing hysterically. Josh was like, he got it on camera. I think he tweeted about it.
Yes, it's on my Twitter. I tagged the Josh Scorcher. I notice you haven't liked the tweet yet.
Because my phone is dead.
A likely story.
I don't even have a Twitter.
Oh, thank you, free phone.
Moving on. All in all, I think we all highly, highly recommend Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yes,
Go
watch it.
see it on the big screen.
Watch it, watch it, watch it, watch it.
Oh, but be careful where you watch it, because we should set the context of the one
Oh, yeah.
downfall. We got to a theater that basically had one row left where all of us could sit together.
Right up next to the screen.
It was the very, very front row, and this was a DX?
XD screen.
XD.
This was like ginormous screen with very clear, crisp quality picture.
And we're pretty sure it was because we were so close that a couple times the action was hard to watch, specifically towards the end. Because we're probably gonna watch it again later because we really do want to see it at a better angle because it's a great movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also want to check if it was those action scenes.
Yeah, a little distance probably makes it even more fun to watch. Plus, we have neck sprain for going like this the whole time.
Yeah. I do believe that some of the action scenes, just a couple of points through the film, they were cut so quickly and everything was so dark, it was really hard to figure out what was happening and what was going where. You were able to figure out within like 4 seconds later when they started to slow down the very quick cuts. But in those moments, I was feeling very confused. What am I watching?
Or when it got really shaky, Cam was like,
Yeah. Pretty sure that was where we were sitting, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this is just kind of a nitpick for me. I thought a lot of the 80s musical choices, and I love all of these songs, but I thought when they picked them and they started playing them, I thought it was a little bit tacky. That's just me. I'm probably the only one that thinks that.
However, also on the XD screening, the introduction piece where they talk about all the grand technology powered by unicorns. And, of course...
you know what he'll say.
Unicorns master race.
Yeah.
A friend of ours predicted it, and not 2 seconds later, DRWolf conveyed down the line, he said it.
He said it. All right. So we had a grand old time. It's still just the first day of CNPC. We've got a long weekend ahead of us, and I'm hoping that we don't stay up too late.
Too late.
Gotta follow that 621 rule.
Indeedy doodle.
So, thank you all.
Yes.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on the movie.
Oh, yes.
After you go see it, please.
Yeah,
please
yes.
go see it.
And stay through the credits. Patience.
Stay through the credits.
I find it hilarious.
I don't even know how I feel about that right now, because it was funny, but I was trolled.
Because Captain America is your most favorite superhero of all time.
And just like during that, and just I don't know how I feel about that.
We are like,
I don't know whether I feel happy or I'm angry. It's so I don't know how I feel.
we are like lab rats lifted aloft so that we might see the maze. And then we're put back into it.
Mm-hmm.
Poignant.
Yeah, they said they did say Spider-Man will return, so I do probably expect him in a certain Infinity War.
Oh, yeah, that's already confirmed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I think that's about it. So I think we shall see you in another 2 years when Infinity War comes out.
I think that's actually next year Part 1 comes out.
Oh.
2018 Part 1, 2019 Part 2. I believe that's the plan.
We'll all
Yes,
be
it's part
really
two.
impatient for part 2. It's like, is it there now? Is it there now?
You have to imagine that at the end of Part 1, you've got
Something bad's gonna
You've
happen.
got- you'd have to expect that the gauntlet would be completely put together at the very end of Part 1. It'll be like an Empire Strikes Back ending.
Yeah.
Of course, we don't.
Wait, who's Thanos? Who's Thanos the father of?
Peter, I am your father.
Oh.
That's literally impossible. Oh, you're right. I can't back that up.
Right.
All right. Well, see ya.
Adios.
Take care, everybody.